Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And very good day for you all. Okay, I'm Shahriel Ben Sayuti, 261733. I'm from Blue Origin. Okay, today the group Blue Origin want to present about core requirement of strategy of agriculture and rural development. Okay, I hope you all can follow for our presentation. Okay, for the first part is improving small scale agriculture. Okay, for this part, improving technology and innovation. Okay, the technology and innovation in most development countries, new agriculture technologies and innovations in farm practice and per conditions. Okay, there in technology and innovation, we have two major sources, which is one is the introduction of mechanized agriculture to replace human labor, and second is the scale neutral. Okay, the introduction of mechanized agriculture to replace human labor. Okay, this is the introduction of labor saving machinery can have dramatic effects on the volume of output per worker. This is from worker to the machine, and it can be effect for unemployment have been in Malaysia. Okay, if mechanized techniques includes women, the male-female productivity gap could widen further with serious repercussions. Okay, and the second is the skill neutral. The skill neutral is theoretically they can be applied equally effectively on large and small farms. Okay, for we have to understand what is the scale neutral. Scale neutral is unaffected by size applied to technological progress that can lead to the achievement of higher output levels irrespective of the size scale of a firm or farm. Okay, only indirectly do they increase output per worker, improve seeds, advanced techniques of irrigation and crop rotation. Okay, this is skill neutral is in technology and innovations. Okay, for the next is the institutional and pricing policies, providing the necessary economic incentive. Okay, in this part, I want to give you a new knowledge for this topic. Okay, development innovation with great potential for land development if public policy and social institution millet against the active participants of the small farmer in the evolving agrarian structure. Another critical area of many past and some continued values in government policies relates to the pricing of agriculture commodities, especially foods, grains, and so on. Okay, farmers were paid prices below either were competitive or free market international prices. The relative international price ratio between food and manufactured goods, the domestic terms of trade. Many development economists therefore argue that if governments are to promote further increases in um, agriculture production that make a largest impact of poverty reduction through green revolutions technology. they must make not only the appropriate institutional and credit market adjustment, but also continue progress to provide incentive for small and medium-sized farmers by implementing pricing policies that truly reflects internal market conditions. Okay, and so we go through to last part for me. From me is adapt, adapting to new opportunities and new constraints. Okay, as the 2008 World Development Report concludes, smallholders can begin better as a group than as individuals. So a higher priority is to facilitate collective action through producer organizations to reach scale in marketing and bargain for better price. One of the biggest constraints looking ahead is the looming environmental problem driven by global warming and climate change, which expected to most negatively after Sub-Saharan Africa and South America. Smaller and purer most negatively after smaller and purer farmers are likely to be affected severely because of their lower access to irrigation with their smaller use of irrigation and different crops mix. This agriculture extensifications not only in forests but also in driver and other sensitive lands further brings the risk of local soil degrading and lost environment and of biodiversity also lead to substantial nations as well as international costs. And otherwise, the risk in large that this development will benefit mainly the largest farmers. And I think that's all for my part. And I'm pass this presenter for my group's members. Thank you for your listening here.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Aqilla binti Anwar. My matric number 265456. Today I will present about the condition for the rural development. They divide three conditions, which is first, land reform, second is supportive policies, and the last one is integrated development objective. The first conclusion is land reform. Conclusion 1, which is land reform, farm structures and land tenure patterns must be adapted to the dual objective of increasing food productions and promoting a wider distribution of the benefits of agrarian progress, allowing further progress against poverty. The meaning of land reform is deliberate attempt to reorganize and transform agrarian systems with the intention of fostering a more equal distribution of agricultural incomes and facilitating rural development. Okay, the further explanation about the land reform is land reform only success when they combine the effort between the government and all farmers. A first step in any such effort, especially in Latin America and Asia, is the provision of secure tenure rights to the individual farmer. The small farm families' attachment to their land is profound. Okay, in this point, explain that it is closely related with their deeply sense of self-esteem and freedom from any pressure. Sebagai contoh, apabila mereka diusir daripada tanah mereka sendiri, ia akan menyebabkan mereka merasa harga diri mereka pada tahap yang rendah, ataupun mereka sendiri tidak mampu membayar hutang yang telah mereka pinjamkan sehingga mereka merasa mereka pada tahap yang miskin, juga akan menyebabkan mereka merasakan harga diri mereka pada tahap yang rendah juga. And the next point, it is for these human reasons as well as for reasons of higher agricultural output and the simultaneous achievement of both greater efficiency and more equity. Land reform is the first necessary condition for agricultural development in many developing countries. Okey, kebanyakan negara menggunakan land reform ni sebagai kayu ukur kemajuan dalam bidang pertanian mereka sendiri. Hal ini banyak terjadi di negara-negara yang sedang membangun. Oleh itu, apabila mereka tidak dapat menguruskan sumber tanah ataupun cara-cara menguruskan tanah dengan baik, ia akan menyebabkan mereka berasa sumber yang ada seperti sumber-sumber tanah yang mereka yang secara sumber jadi ni tidak dapat digunakan dengan baik, akan menjadikan ekonomi pertanian mereka jatuh kepada tahap yang lebih rendah daripada yang mereka target. Okay, the third point is land reform usually entails a redistribution of the rights of ownership or use of land away from large landowners in favor of cultivators with very limited or no land holdings. Okey, terdapat banyak cara ataupun kaedah untuk pemindahan semula. Sebagai contoh pemindahan hak milik kepada penyewa yang telah mengusahakan tanah. Kaedah ini telah digunakan di negara Taiwan, Jepun dan Korea Selatan. Kaedah yang kedua adalah kaedah pemindahan tanah daripada tanah yang ladang yang besar kepada ladang yang kecil. Ini telah digunakan di negara Mexico, dan kaedah yang ketiga adalah perolehan ladang besar untuk penempatan semula di negara Kenya. Okey, penerangan yang sebelum ini adalah berkaitan dengan cara-cara land reform yang untuk melindungi pengusaha tanah tersebut. The next point is there is widespread agreement among economists and other development specialists on the need for land reform. Okay, FAO atau Food and Agricultural Organization menyatakan bahawa keperluan reformasi tanah lebih diperlukan pada masa kini, kerana sebelum ini terdapat banyak masalah-masalah seperti peningkatan populasi yang amat tinggi, ketidaksamaan pendapatan, pengangguran dan ketiadaan teknologi. The next point is inequality is increasing in Africa. The Economic Commission for Latin America has repeatedly identified land reform as a necessary precondition for poverty, reducing agricultural and rural progress. Unfortunately, very small or landless farmers cannot directly purchase land from the big landowners because of market failures. Credit market do not function well enough to provide a potentially efficient family farmers with a loan. Okay, in this point, I explain that terdapat banyak juga negara-negara yang masih meragui tentang kaedah land reform ni. Okey, hal ini dinyatakan kerana terdapat hal campur tangan kerajaan yang tidak sihat ataupun masalah politik sendiri, politik yang tidak sihat. Oleh itu, terdapat negara yang masih lagi menyangkal bahawa land reform ini merupakan kaedah yang masih tidak memuaskan banyak pihak. Okay, the second conclusion is supportive policies. In this conclusion, the full benefits of small-scale agricultural development cannot be realized unless government support systems are created that provide the necessary incentive, economic opportunities, and access to the needed credit and inputs to enable small cultivators to expand their outputs and raise their productivities. Okay, further explanation about the supportive policies. The first point is there are corresponding changes in the rural institutions that control productions, such as banks, moneylender, seed and fertilizer distribution. Okay, the second point is supporting government aid services such as technical and educational extension service, public credit agencies and others. The last point is government pricing policies with regards to both inputs such as removing factor price distortion. The last conclusion is the integrated development objective. In this conclusion, we can divide it into four sub, which is rural development. Third, dependent primarily on small farmer agricultural progress implies much more. The first point is it encompasses efforts to raise both farms and non-farms rural real incomes through job creation, rural industrialization, and other non-farm opportunities, and the increased provision of education, health and nutrition, housing, and a variety of related social and welfare services. The second point, decreasing inequality in the distribution of rural incomes and a lessening of urban-rural imbalance in incomes and economic opportunities. The third point is successful intention to the need for environmental sustainability, limiting the extension of farmland into remaining forests and other fragile areas, promoting conservation and preventing the harmful misuse of agrochemicals and other inputs. And the last point is the capacity of the rural sector to sustain and accelerate the pace of these improvements over time. In this point, clearly state that the achievement of this objective is important to national development. More than half population of developing world still located in rural area. Okay, additional knowledge that land reform in China. Okay, the government will fix China's left behind countries through a raft of reforms. This year was no different, with measures meant to help farmers move to the cities, educate their children and invest in improving their land. Okay, in this point, menerangkan tentang kerajaan negara China sendiri akan membantu petani-petani untuk mereka menjalankan kehidupan seperti biasa, ya, dengan memindahkan mereka ke bandar-bandar dan memberikan bantuan pendidikan kepada anak-anak mereka serta mengeluarkan modal untuk mereka mengusahakan tanah dalam bidang pertanian untuk memajukan bidang pertanian. Okay, the second point is the gap between the village and the city remains stubbornly wide. Many blame this on the fact that farmers are not allowed to own land, a policy that goes back to one of the founding decisions of the Communist Revolution. Okay, kerajaan China sendiri telah menyekat petani-petani untuk memiliki tanah mereka sendiri. Semua tanah-tanah di sana adalah tanah-tanah milik kerajaan dan mereka hanya diberikan kuasa untuk mengusahakan tanah itu sahaja. Dan jika ia diberikan tanah secara terus kepada mereka, iaitu petani-petani, ia akan bertentangan dengan ciri-ciri kerajaan komunis. Sekian, terima kasih.
Hi guys, I'm Quitting and I would like to present about the case study 9. The case study 9 shows basically the need to increase agricultural expansion program for women farmers in Kenya. Now, I'm going to give you a brief summary of this case. So basically this case study explains the absolute poverty disproportionately constrains the women who live in rural areas. It's noted that one of the key roles of women in sub-Saharan Africa in harvesting of agricultural production, not only as a means of their income for themselves but also provide for their families and communities. This case highlights the agricultural extension program, which is a great revelation by introducing more modern family practice which will increase the productivity in rural areas, especially in ASEAN countries. That's the main issue when the agricultural expansion program comes to Kenya. The program just aims almost exclusively at training men, even though women do most of the agricultural work. This is clearly shows that the cultural practice that reflect the unequal between the men and women in Kenya. In sub-Saharan Africa, the women mostly generate 2 per 3 of stable food production. They are also responsible in growing and marketing the cash crops, fruit processing, and animal husbandry. And the role of women have expanded when men largely immigrated to urban areas and take the agricultural job. However, despite contribution of women in agricultural development in Kenya, their central role in agricultural production still largely ignored. All of the unequal because of the discrimination gender in Kenya. The discrimination gender caused the unequal distribution to women of education, equipment, and land ownership than men. Now, I'm going to introduce the 5 different key issues that basically prevent female farmers from their capabilities to improve agricultural production, which is human capital, technology, land reform and agrarian design, credit, and work requirements. So, the first one is being the lack of human capital. The case study shows that the women have less education than men in average in most rural developing areas. The inequality of human capital through a bias in which available programs will typically focus on training men. The knowledge and information of men will be trickled across to their partner, but it seldom happens and the men tend not to pass on what they have learned to their partners. The second, which is presented through the case, is the lack of proper technology. And as I mentioned in the first key issue that the program includes technology development just focus on men only. It is difficult for women taking part in agricultural activities to boost their productivity without any technology requirements. Now, the third issue is the distribution of land reform and agrarian design. This is an inequality in land distribution, and the female farmers who without ownership of land impossible to create profit enough to boost their income. Moreover, the limit production are only sufficient enough to meet the demand for themselves and families. In Kenya state, the average of women farmers are much smaller and they are less likely to have secured the land ownership. Next one is about the lack of access to credit among the female farmers. It's found that the women have a very little financial credit to help boost their capabilities in agricultural sector. They are unable to make any purchase that might help in their production. The final issue that is presented in this case study is the work requirement between men and women in Kenya. Most of the women who work as many hours per day as men in agricultural pursuit also have to perform several hours of domestic work does not apply to men. The women are gonna to work during the day and reach hour of 16 to 19 hours per day, which leave very minimal time for rest and prepare for another job. The female farmers totally unable to properly balance between their family duties and the agricultural work. and the limitation capabilities of a woman to take care of their children. Now, these are the 5 key issues that the case study presents in Kenya. With the reality in Kenya, the country has at least made progress on reducing the discrimination of gender and improving the women's role in agricultural sector.
Assalamualaikum Major and good day everyone. My name is Mimi Nurhana binti Muhammad Misfu, metric number 263467. I'm going to continue the presentation with my points, which are National Extension System or NES and Training and Visit or TNV. For the National Extension System or NES, the method used is to compromise the communication techniques between extension workers and target groups. The importance of extension programs are extension helps in studying and solving the rural problems, increases farm yields and improves the standard of living of farmers, makes good communities better and progressive, and the last one is extension contributes to national development programs. There are 3 categories of research extension linkage in agriculture. The first category is characterized by high input, high yielding production systems and found primarily in developed countries and in a few areas in developing countries. The second category consists of areas benefiting from the Green Revolution, where applied research has made a dramatic impact on food grain yields. This type of agriculture is found mainly in high-capacity areas of the tropical countries and particularly where irrigation is available. In the third category, which is characterized by poor and diverse resources in domains and ecological conditions, the most urgent need is to strengthen the research extension linkage. These areas are characterized by low and uncertain rainfall, lack of irrigation, and poor infrastructure. Yields are low and uncertain, and there is a general degradation of resources. However, the potential for increasing agricultural production is high and unexploited. The technology needs of this third category of farmers are mainly expressed through government policy, as the farmers are unorganized in such areas. Kenya is included in the third category. The Kenyan Minister of Agriculture implemented the NES program in 1982. However, this program was initially aimed at men, while women were encouraged to join the Home Economic Branch program. They advised women on household and cottage industry management and domestic hygiene, but only peripherally on farming matters. Research conducted by the Institute of Development Studies in Nairobi confirms that the development of this agricultural system is enjoyed by men more than women. Following this program, the Training and Visits or TNV system was formed in 1983. This system was established with the express purpose of training women as well as men in efficient agricultural practices. The design of TNP system is based on providing technical messages to selected contact farmers whose farms will be visited regularly. Unfortunately, resources are insufficient to reach all farmers, and even in the TNP system they try to reach all farmers, the quality of training would be poor. As a result, only 10% of all farmers are chosen to adopt advice brought to them in these messages and then to help spread this new technical knowledge by persuading other farmers in the villages to adopt them as well. The selection process is vital. Therefore, farmers who are capable, diligent in following new information, and respected in their environment are selected. TNP outreach has focused more on self-help groups of traditional farmers, which provide greater flexibility, better diffusion, and group empowerment. At first, Messages focus on procedures offering the prospect of significant productivity gains, but not requiring cash expenditure, such as ground preparation, spacing, seed varieties, and pruning. The training process builds step by step, which simpler messages are imparted in early stages and more complex messages later in the program. After the farmers saw the results and believed in the new TNB program, another model that required more funding was introduced, which means requiring modest cash outlays such as fertilizer use and crop spraying. In a later stage, measures requiring purchase of capital goods may be introduced. The messages of TNB program ideally are supposed to be transmitted in both directions. TNB agents are supposed to gather information about how well previous advice has worked in practice and about continued problems in order to guide research efforts. In 1997, TNB management was reported to have increased the effectiveness of development programs and supported agricultural growth and resulted in a high return on investment. However, there are limits to what the program can achieve without the development of improved technologies that are relevant to local conditions. Therefore, the program produced several weaknesses. Economic advancement of women farmers is important for promoting environmentally sustainable development. In addition to their responsibility for agriculture, women have a customary role in traditional societies as the guardians of natural resources such as the water supply. Despite that, in Kenya, the TNB system is not yet strongly involved in environmental problems. Another shortcoming of the TNB system is that it has made too little progress in the field of women's credit, though there is much more that must be done. A study by Kathleen Stott found that of 84 female farm managers interviewed in the Kakamega district in Kenya's western province, only one knew about the credit program and no female manager had received any credit. Through these two programs, which are National Extension System and Training and Visit, the strategy of involving women in public agriculture initiatives has shown some results in environment and credit, as well as agricultural productivity. For example, the United Nations Population Fund reports that women are now the principal participants in Kenya's National Soil Conservation Program. Since the mid-1980s, women have terraced more than 360,000 small farms, or 40% of the country's total. Rural collectives run by women are now getting bank loans and agricultural extension services tailored to their specific needs and interests. That is all from me. I'll pass to the next presenter. Thank you.
Good afternoon to everyone. My name is Lim Su Feng. My metric number is 261699. Please allow me to continue with FOA in Kenya. Before I start, I would like to have some short introduction about FOA. FOA stands for Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. FOA is a specialized agency of the United Nations that leads international efforts to defeat hunger. FOA's representation in Kenya was established in 1977. FOA is also a key stakeholder in the agricultural sector in Kenya. FOA's mission is to work with the government of Kenya to help build a food-secure country free of hunger and malnutrition, where food and agriculture contribute to improving the living standards of all, especially the poorest, in an economically, socially, and environmentally sustainable manner. The Women in Development Service of the FOA reports that in Kenya, following a national information campaign targeted at women under a national extension project, yields of corn increased by 28%, beans by 80%, and potatoes by 84%. The way forward also includes a greater emphasis on more general knowledge. The FOA also reports on a study in Kenya that showed that farm yields among rural women would be increased by 24% if all women farmers completed primary school. Nevertheless, the agricultural extension program in Kenya has remained weak by international standards. The World Bank audited its program in this field in 1999 and found it severely wanting in many respects, including low cost effectiveness. The audit called for more efficient targeting of extension services where the impact is likely to be greatest, using improved information systems and empowering farmer clients by giving them a greater voice in the design of the services. Kenya eliminated user fees on primary education in 2002, making it at least normally free for all, despite 1980s era encouragement by the World Bank and other agencies to seek cost recovery from impoverished parents of primary pupils. As a vital part of poverty alleviation, cost recovery from impoverished women farmers is a dubious strategy. It may also be noted that structural adjustment in Kenya is cited by other critics as a cause of declining TNB budgets in the late 1980s and 1990s, severely crippling the capacities of this program. In Kenya and elsewhere in sub-Saharan Africa, public extension programs have also been supplemented in recent years by a growing presence of non-governmental organizations. For example, in Western Kenya, the NGO Africa Now is actively recruiting and training farmers to participate in beekeeping as an alternative means of income generation. Broad participation of many civil society actors with diverse knowledge bases and connections with various ethnic and other social groupings is essential to success in an ecologically and socially diverse region such as sub-Saharan Africa. Regarding government extension, a World Bank evaluation concluded that progress on gender issues has been mixed. The early bias against women farmers has been rectified, but some bias persists in the selection of contact farmers. The proportion of female field extension agents has remained largely unchanged since 1982. Though a better performance than many African and Asian countries and that Kenya exhibited in the past, it leaves much to be desired. Real progress has been made, but there's a pressing need for systematic follow-up and expansion. A hopeful sign is that in decentralizing extension to more local levels, opportunities for active participation are increasing. Kenya's National Agricultural and Livestock Program have established stakeholder forums to decide on extension service priorities at the district and sub-district levels, in which farmers are to be given a substantial say, but it's too early to determine how much more responsive the new system will be to the needs of women farmers or whether the long-run impact will be greater than past efforts. In another development, Esther Duflo, Michael Creamer, and Jonathan Robinson presented intriguing evidence from the Busher district in Kenya that farmers also have a commitment problem in using returns from produce sales to purchase fertilizer for next season. Farmers are facing small fixed costs of purchasing fertilizer. Such farmers may procrastinate, postponing fertilizer purchases until later periods when they may be too impatient to purchase fertilizer. Consistent with the model, many farmers in Western Kenya fail to take advantage of apparently profitable fertilizer investment, but they do invest in response to small, time-limited discounts on the cost of acquiring fertilizer, which is free delivery just after harvest. Although still at an early stage, this pioneering research may open up new avenues for more effective agricultural program design. But the role of women is strengthening throughout Kenya. Thousands of women are taking part in the Green Belt Movement, GBM. GBM was established in 1977 by the National Council of Women in Kenya at the behest of the visionary leader Wangari Maathai. In an effort to meet the basic needs of rural women, Professor Wangari Maathai began to plant trees with them. The non-governmental Green Belt Movement has planted 30 million trees across Kenya, many of which still stand. GBM's simple objective is to halt desertification by encouraging tree planting and soil and water conservation in rural communities. The GPM also works to promote sustainable development and poverty alleviation in parallel projects. Although the program is run through the NGO or citizen sector, seedlings are provided by the government at low prices, and GPM volunteers receive advice and support from government forestry officials. In 2004, her work in supporting sustainable agriculture and forestry that benefits women and children was internationally recognized with the Nobel Peace Prize. Green Belt Movement also emphasizes grassroots participation and self-help and strives to educate people on the link between deforestation, erosion, poor soil quality, and subsequent low crop yields. With the help of outside funding, women are paid to work at about 1,000 nurseries. Seedlings grown at these nurseries are given to small farmers, schools, and churches, which have planted tens of millions of trees. The estimated survival rate is 70 to 80%. GBM has had striking success in scalability, bringing the model throughout Kenya and then disseminating it widely in Africa. This success was noted by the Nobel Committee when awarding the prize to Professor Matai. In conclusion, our group had discussed about subtopic 9.6, core requirement of a strategy of agricultural and rural development, which is about improving small-scale agriculture, institutional and pricing policies, and conditions for rural development. We also discussed about the case study 9, which is the need to improve agricultural extension for women farmers in Kenya. That's all from our group Blue Origin. Thank you for listening.